and welcome once again to another program of Prime Time. I'm your host, Beverly. You know that one of our favorite types of programs is the personality profiles. And it's very, very interesting to look at our community and find people who are making a difference. And in this case, young people. Today we have a high achiever on our program today, and she's going to be sharing what she's done and where she is today and what made it possible for us to have her as one of our personality profiles this week. So stick around and we'll be right back.
The innovative Banco-Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco-Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
At Travel Planners, we love what we do. Every day, we help our clients plan their vacations, from honeymoons to family reunions, trade shows to conventions, school trips to sports tournaments. Our agents at Travel Planners can help you make better, wiser decisions on travel destinations and cruises and find you the lowest fares. Make some memories with help from Travel Planners in Phillipsburg and on the Airport Road, Simpson Bay. Visit our website at Planners SXM and like us on Facebook at St. Martin Travel Planners. We take care of all your travel needs.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us. This is Prime Time, and today we are speaking, as I mentioned in our opening, about personality profiles, and we are highlighting her. She is a clinical psychologist, and she just attained her doctorate. So actually, she is Dr. Judith or Dr. Edouard. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, Teacher Beverly. It's a pleasure being.
Yeah. It's so nice to have you on. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. Judith, when I saw that, of course, you have your bachelor's, then you had your master's, and then you did your doctorate. Where did you get all that drive and that motivation from?
Honestly, to be very honest with you, my drive and motivation comes from my parents. They've instilled in both my sister and I great work ethics. I've seen my parents working 2-3 jobs just to provide for both my sister and I. And they always say, be honest in everything that you do, work hard. So that way in life, no one can really walk over you or say, you owe me this, because in life, no one really owes you anything. So you owe it up to yourself to go out there, be your best in everything that you put your mind to. So I give, and my motivation, all those credit goes to my parents.
Yeah.
Migrated from Haiti.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
They both migrated from Haiti. They met each other here on St. Martin with little to nothing. And together they started a life where their children would become better individuals than they were when they were growing up back home in their country. And just seeing how my parents...
The opportunities were limited.
Yes, the opportunities were limited for them, but they had a goal and they wanted their children to just present them, just go out there and grasp every opportunity that's there, because it's not limited for their children. That's what they see. No opportunity out there is too small for my daughters to do. So because of that mindset from a very young age, I went out and I was honest in everything that I did. And today my parents, they've always been proud. They've always been proud, but today it's wow. It's a wow moment.
Extra special, huh?
Yeah, yes, extra special. I still can't believe it.
Yeah. So the trick question is, were you a good student all the way through in school?
Good student mean like behavior or academics?
No, academics, your grades?
Academics?
Yeah.
I'm okay student. I don't get on a roll all the time, but one thing about me as a student is that I never gave up in anything. My parents realized that I needed extra assistance in certain subjects. So from primary school, my parents put me into afternoon school from the first grade.
Afternoon school.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was an average student, I would say, in terms of academics. And but in terms of behavior, I was very shy. I was well-mannerly, well-behaved. The teacher would sometimes not even recognize that I'm in class. That's how quiet I was as a student.
And so now, so now you've been a high achiever. Yes, I said you did your bachelor's and your master's, and you went on to be a clinical psychologist, a doctorate. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk to you about actually what's happening in our world, in our community today. As a clinical psychologist, we see in education, for example, in the schools, we've gone through so much in the past year with the pandemic, Zoom classes at home, and then late last year we came back into the classroom, and that's how I met Dr. Judith in school, working there. And so what kind of situations are you being faced with presently?
Okay. Presently, what we are faced with is students who become so accustomed of the online schooling that they have difficulties focusing in the classroom. They have difficulties adapting to the structure of the classroom, adapting to the routine. They've been home for such a long time, some with no devices, and no structure. So they're left to do whatever they want to do because it probably created a sense of relief for their parents where, you know what, if it's going to keep you quiet, then you go ahead and you do what you want to do. And that's what I'm seeing right now. Structure, lack of concentration in the classroom. Students, the gaming addiction have increased so much. All these new technology games online. They spent a lot of time online at home. So students are children especially, they're very inquisitive. So they're always researching new ideas, new games, and they can name all of those games to you. They even have me on Roblox. That's one of their famous games. But
they can't tell you what a noun is.
Exactly, they can't. Exactly. Yes. So there's also some academic delays as well.
Okay, we'll take a break and then we come back. I want you to walk us through a child that was recommended to you, and what are the steps you take with this child? Do you involve the school, the teachers, the parents? How do you work that case through? Yeah. So we're speaking to Dr. Judith Edouard, and she's just recently received her doctorate in clinical psychology, and we thought it would be a great idea to highlight her here as one of our high achievers in our community. So stick around and we'll be right back. This is Prime Time.
This is Rupert Brown, better known in the community as Major Brown. Because of my service in the police, I've been with Nagico for the past 30-something years. I think it's around 35. And I've always been satisfied with the service I got with them. They have helped many people in this island. As long as I have to keep on insuring them with any company, I will choose Nagico.
Every time I go to Nagico, I get the best service that I needed.
I think it took a little longer to be paid out, but I could understand. They had to bring in the people out from outside the damage was so great that they needed people from outside to make the assessments, and that took a little longer. But in the end, I was satisfied that I had people in Najiko who you consider friends, and that's why I've remained with Najiko all these years, because of the friendliness of the people in there.
Choose strength. Choose reliability. Choose Najiko Insurances.
A cruise is a great adventure, not only for passengers, also for us. The Port of St. Martin. Our port always reflected the needs and aspirations of the time. From the first to the 1.75 millionth passenger in 2013. Our cruise story started in 1963 with our first cruise passenger. 50 great years later, 20 million passengers later, thousands of cruise berths later, we've become the leading port in the Caribbean. 50 fantastic years. Like a dream. The dream of Port St. Martin lives on and reinvents itself every day. The best is yet to come.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. This is Prime Time, and today we are speaking to Dr. Judith Edouard, and she is a doctorate in clinical psychology. Yeah, and we were talking about your cases. I don't know what is correct word, if that's the correct word. Your case study, for example. Beverly comes to your office because she was recommended. The teacher sent her down to the psychologist, and because I'm having some behavioral issues in the classroom, I'm not focusing, and so on. So what is your course of action? What are the steps that you take?
Okay, so the first step of action that we take is that the teacher, and together with the SCC, they fill out a referral form. And while they fill out the referral form, we need parent consent to even work with their child. And a teacher could refer the child for behavioral. The child is not concentrating, the child is not focused. And so what I do is then I go in and I do some observations in the classroom. I collect some background information from the teachers, from the student care coordinators, and also the parents. And I not only look at their behavior, but I also do an academic assessment as well. Because sometimes what we see is that a child is acting out because they don't understand the work. Maybe the child is in group 5, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the child is working on a group 5 level. So I look at the holistic child. I don't only look at the social emotional, I look at the academics as well, to see where is this stemming from. So, because there's always an underlying issue. Children don't just act up because they feel like acting up. You know, some are class clowns, we have to say that, but at the end of the day, they still get their work done. So I have a child, the teacher said behavioral problems. I go through and I do the WISC, which is a achievement test. It gives you the child's processing speed, their fluid reasoning, also their IQ. It tells you which area exactly this child is having difficulties in. And for their social emotional, I will do maybe an ADHD or ADD test, and also have them draw a picture for me. And from the picture, you can gather their emotions, their feelings. Is it anger? Is it anxiety? Are they seeking warmth? And I compile both of them together, and majority of the times what I see is that, because I also do a RAT, achievement test, you see that the child is probably functioning below grade level in math, average in verbal comprehension, but low in fluid reasoning. And when that is compiled, then you make recommendations for the teacher. Hey, this child is in group 5, but this child hasn't achieved the fluid reasoning that's needed for group 5 as yet, because he still haven't learned what do I need in order to, for example, put my nouns together to create a sentence, or to point out what is the noun, what is the verb in the sentences. So that's that's where that's how I get my,
Come in.
my
So
results. Yes.
what about, because I can remember clearly being in the classroom, the stigma that comes with being sent or referred to the psychologist.
Yes.
Are you still dealing with that?
Yes.
Parents, when they hear their psychologist, they're like, oh my gosh, no, not my child.
Yes, we still do get that a lot. But when you sit and speak with the parent and you let them know exactly what it is, what I gathered over the past years is that parents just need an understanding, just need you to sit with them and go through step by step exactly what it is that you're going to do with my child. So I would even show the materials. I won't give the parents a copy of the materials, but I will show the materials of what I'm going to do with your child. And parents also get a copy, original copy of that report, and I go into detail, what does this result mean? And what recommendations can we put in place for your child? Because your child is capable of learning, but we want to make sure that we're reaching your child where he or she is, and we're not asking too much of them.
Yeah.
Basically.
So why did you decide to study psychology, clinical psychology?
Why?
Yes. Why did you choose to be a teacher? Huh?
I get a question a lot, and I tell people that psychology found me because initially I went off to college to Canada to become a nurse. That's where I started, become a pediatric nurse. I knew I wanted to work with children. So I went to study pediatric nurse. And during my first year, even my second year in college, you're allowed to take what's called electives. And funny enough, all of my electives were psychology electives. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened to be. And I was more drawn to it. Like my heart was more, I love the nursing, but my heart was more drawn to psychology. I understood it better because I have a younger sister, and for example, structure. I used to make sure that we have a schedule, on Monday, you do this at 3:00. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, we have, soccer practice, or Wednesday, you have homework to do. So I would I would pretend like she is my little child, and I would create structure, a schedule for her. And in class, I would just have flashbacks of what I would do with my little sister. And I loved it. My heart fell in love with psychology.
Yeah. And so what made you do that step? Because you said, maybe I would do my doctorate, but it takes some real gut to say, okay, I'm going to go even further and do my doctorate in clinical psychology. What made you go take that extra step?
A very good question. I want to open up my own practice, and in order for you to do that, you need a doctorate in psychology. So that made me go to the very top, because after your doctorate, that's basically that's the last step.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So where did you do your doctorate online? Because we know that a lot of people couldn't go. Well, how did you do that? So you were in Canada and you did your psychology bachelor's, and where did you do your master's?
I did my master's in Holland at University Leiden University for a year. And then I worked, I returned home. I did an internship, and then I did my doctorate online. So 2017, I started my doctorate online.
So how long did it take you?
4 long years.
The doctorate.
For my doctorate, 4 long years. Yes.
I hear you. Okay, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about, so if you do that, and as you said, now you're a doctorate in the G, and then, and you revealed to us that you'd like to start your own practice. And we're going to look at that. And then we also want to talk about what can you say to young people who are not so sure what career path they should take, because a lot of them are coming to that junction. What advice could you give? So stick around, and we'll be right back. This is Prime Time. You can view this program and all other Prime Time programs on Facebook and YouTube as well. And don't forget to like and to share and to subscribe. We'll be back in a moment.
The Daily Herald is my first source for up-to-date information and news. Putting together this program of prime time requires research and knowledge of current events. For local news, regional and international news, do read the Daily Herald.
Welcome back, and we were talking with Dr. Judith Edouard, and we were saying, what do you say to young people? We are coming almost at the end of the school year. They would have decided by now, but what about those who are in the grades before and at the junction where they're thinking, what should I do? How do I decide? I went through all my high school and I really couldn't pinpoint. For example, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher from early on, so I knew what my career path would look like. What do you say to people or to students who are not sure which direction to take?
Okay, that's a very good question. I use myself as an example. You may have a little bit of idea of what it is that you want to study, and then you get up, you go to college, and in the end you find out that this is not your area of focus. What I would encourage people to do is honestly listen to your heart. In psychology, there's a term that says everything that you need is already inside of you. Trust your gut instinct. For example, I almost was near to completing my nursing. I made a switch in my third year, and I never once to this day.
In the third year?
Yeah. I never once regretted making that change because I listened to my heart, listen to your feelings. You will not go astray, and everything may not go as you planned, which is okay. I wish I knew that when it was my turn then back in college. Yes, I wish I knew that then, that things will not always go as you plan, but have a diligent mindset, have a disciplined mindset enough to say, I am not going to quit. I am going to continue on this journey and find out what it is that I'm passionate about, what it is that I was made for, and you will find it. You definitely will find it, but you have to be true to yourself, and you have to have a disciplined mindset and just don't give up. Really and truly don't give up.
So how did you find Canada? Did you do a lot of research on your own?
Funny thing is, I found it
when you decided you want to do
in high school, there was an educational fair. Yep. And I was in Fort Farm, and there was an educational fair, and Canada was the first school that I went to at the educational fair, and Trent University was the only school from. No, it was Trent and it was Seneca, but something drew me to Trent, and I said, this is the first university I walked into, and this is the one I want to go to, and I haven't regretted it one day. Trent University is awesome. There's so many of us here on the island that went to Trent University, and we're so
to Trent.
To Trent, and very successful. So many of us here on the island.
Yeah, nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's set up. You said you would like to open your own practice. How far away is that?
I don't know, maybe in the next 5 years from now. That is one of my goals, to open up my own practice, to work with children and adolescents with special needs. I see we have a lot of special needs children on the island, and parents who are reaching out, and they feel like there's not much resources on the island for them. And so I'm just busy researching, finding information before I start opening up my practice on what it is that I would need in order to reach out to the parents and to the children in our community.
Now, you says you have a sister, and so what does your sister do? And do you practice your psychology on her still?
Yes, I do, and she hates it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Judy, seriously, I am not 6 years old anymore. I'm not a little girl anymore." She recently got her her bachelor in law from the University of Buckingham in England. So she's just...
Oh, she's in England?
Yeah. She's home now because of the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
She came home in December.
Right.
Yeah, she came home in December, and she is due to return in August, July, August, to continue to do her master's actually in law. She chose a different route. She chose law.
Yeah. Oh, wow,
Totally
wow.
different.
So what do your parents say when they look at both of you and how you've done well?
They are very proud, actually. They are in awe of how we've made them so proud, especially me being the first generation university graduate in my family.
Yes.
My mom, every day, she thanks God. She's like, merci Seigneur, hallelujah. She's still in awe. She cannot really believe that her daughter made it this far. And I paid it out of pocket. I paid my doctorate out of pocket. And to know that you invest in yourself is the ultimate thing that you can do for yourself. Invest in yourself. Yeah, trust yourself completely.
We have to wrap up quickly, but what schools did you go to? Primary and high school. Which schools did you go to?
I went to MAC and Campus 2, and I went to the St. Martin Academy. Yeah, I went to the St. Martin Academy.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So Judith, Dr. Judith Edouard, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I know that when I first approached you, you were like, not me. But it was nice that you thought about it and consented. Yeah, we have to give role models for our youth in our community. We have to show them, there's other ways as well. And so we appreciated that you consented to come on the program, and we wish you all success in future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me, Teacher Beverly. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I was nervous in the beginning, but I loved it. I enjoyed it.
I told you? Yeah.
Yes.
This has been Prime Time. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's a pleasure. This has been Prime Time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week with much more interesting programs. We have quite a few personality profiles lined up. So tune in next week or anytime of the day or night on Facebook and YouTube as well.